The only reason you're reading this is because I have a fucked up sleeping schedule. On days when I'm not working as an interpretive guide for a local museum, I'll usually wake up sometime in the late afternoon, like around 2 or 3, and then not go back to sleep until about 3 or 4 in the morning. Every time I have work, I try to keep a more reasonable schedule, getting to sleep before midnight and waking up at 8 a.m. But without any obligations, I'll slip back into my abnormal habits at the drop of a hat. Honestly, I hate it, because when I wake up on those days, I feel like I've wasted an entire day. I had the opportunity to be productive, to get something done, to create something, to talk to people, to help someone, anything. But by the time I've dragged my useless carcass out of bed, showered, dressed, eaten, you couldn't call it breakfast, and groomed, the sun is already nearly set. How do I spend my nights in? Alone, mostly. My friends are all stupid, responsible adults, and are winding down just as I'm getting up. I don't drink, and I hate the bar club scene. Asperger's. So I just stay up, usually lacking some or all articles of clothing, and dick around online, sometimes quite literally, watch TV, eat, write shit, or paint things in Photoshop. Writing and painting are the closest I ever come to being productive when not at work. I'm really big into animals, so that's usually what I paint and write about. One night in early December, I found myself once again up at around 2:30, watching episodes of The Nostalgia Critic and eating Tostitos. I was beginning to enter the part of the night that I guess people call the witching hour. That strange time of night when the world as you know it has gone to sleep, and something else has taken its place for a while. It's quiet, dark, and you become filled with a surreal kind of lightheadedness. It's like a light euphoria that comes as a result of a lack of sleep, and the subtle changes that happen to the world during the deepest point of the night. And yet, with this euphoria comes a vague sense of fear as well. Everyone else is asleep, leaving you alone. When you live by yourself, it can make you feel like the last person on earth. As I lay back in my computer chair, shirtless and looking at shitty fan art on DA, it began to snow outside. I knew this was coming, as it had been foretold to me by my weather app. It was the first snowfall of the season, arriving pretty much on schedule for Connecticut. The snow started off as light and fluffy, visible only in the streetlights by the road just outside my house. After first seeing it, I paid it no heed for a while, turning my attention back to my computer and chips. I didn't notice it again for another hour or so, when the wind started to howl, and the wooden walls of my house began to groan. Looking back outside, I saw that the snowfall had escalated into a swirling blizzard raging in the streets outside. Checking my weather app, it indicated only light snowfall for the moment. But fuck if that was the first time it had been wrong. With this blizzard hitting my house from all sides, I felt just a tinge of anxiety growing inside me. I had been hoping to go to sleep soon, but that wasn't going to happen with a storm like this beating against the house. And then all of the subsequent thoughts began to hit. I was going to have to shovel all of this the next day. The roads would be hell on ice. It all served to just make me more anxious. I began to stare out the window, fixated on the snow blowing through the orange beams of the street lamps. I was staring at it intensely, as if hoping that if I glared at it hard enough, it would be intimidated enough to let up. You can imagine how well that worked out. As I was staring out the window, I saw something move through the light outside. At first I thought it was one of the numerous neighborhood cats trying to get out of the blizzard. But in the moment when it passed into the light and back out again, it looked bigger than a cat. Much bigger. And the tail was short and stubby. I tried to get a better look at it, but I could make out nothing more than the dark shape of its body moving across the street in the direction of my house. I went to turn on the porch lights, but by the time I looked back, I saw nothing more than a faint trail of footprints moving past my house and my neighbors. I raced back to the deck in the backyard to see if I could catch it in the lights there. I flicked them on, and that's when I saw it. Through a veil of snow falling in dense curtains, I saw what at first appeared to be a bobcat. But even with my less than ideal viewing conditions, I could tell that it was closer in size to a jaguar than a bobcat. It was bulky and well-muscled, with a fine coat of ivory fur that seemed to be made of the snow itself. With a face like a lion, it stared in the direction of my deck, finally locking eyes with me. The eyes glowed a vivid yellow, as cat's eyes do when the light hits them the right way. After giving me a good look over, it turned back around and prowled into the darkness. I didn't sleep that night. I spent the rest of the night researching to try and find the identity of the mystery cat that stalked through my backyard. But even after the black had faded to dull gray, my search yielded nothing. Even after going through every cat species listed on Wikipedia, I didn't find anything that even remotely approached what I had seen the night before. There is no point in identifying it based on its footprints, which had been blown away by the storm not long after being made. By 9 a.m., the snow had stopped, and I was ready to collapse. The shoveling could wait. Work wasn't until the next day. My very last ounces of energy were fast fading, and no amount of uncertainty about my feline visitor could keep me from falling down onto my mattress and plummeting into the deepest sleep I've had in a good, long while.